Hello, everyone who's joining right now and any of the future record viewers. This is Unity Basic Workshop. Can I just get like a final confirm? You can see my screen and video. Any from anyone in the chat? Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Justin. So we'll be going over Unity, Unity basics to moderate. If you know your way around Unity, like this, maybe this workshop won't bring you much, but what we'll be going through installations, what is Unity, different build settings, different scripting types, visual coding, scripting coding, shader coding, folder structuring, some of the lighting stuff, and just a touch on some of the more interesting stuff like AR, VR, different rendering pipelines. So Unity is it's a very in-depth software, but what I'm doing here today with the workshop is kind of giving you an overview of, okay, that these are the things which are available, and then you can go in and dive deeper. So what is Unity? Unity is a game engine. Well, it was essentially made for games, but it's an interactive engine. You can do any kind of interactive games in it. Interactive simulations, game interactivity. These are some of the works examples which I have done just to give an overview. So now there are two kind of game engines in the market, and when I was starting out, my biggest confusion was what to choose. We have Unity, and then we have Unreal Engine. So I think it totally comes down to your preference in the end. There is a debate that Unreal is maybe more um, better in terms of graphics. But now, having worked with Unity for quite a while now, I know that you can achieve the same thing in Unity. It's just that in Unreal Engine, what they do is they already have all those post-processing stuff on by default. But in Unity, you do need to go in and kind of tinker quite a bit to achieve the same effect. But it's possible. So why I personally started preferring Unity is because um, Unity has a more indie kind of feel to it. It has more community. Community is the main thing which is around it, and it's easy to find answers online. It's a lot of people are building packages and plugins around Unity. So, so the online community I think is a bit more friend available in Unity. Okay. Other software, if just to mention, it doesn't fall in the same category for game engines, but it's one of the software as well. You can do interactivity. Um, I wouldn't recommend to build complex games in it, but if you're looking at interactivity, projection interactive, or installation kind of graphics, then Touch Designer is good as well for real-time graphics. So let's jump on to Unity and how to install Unity. So we have something called Unity Hub, and that would be the best way for you to install via Unity Hub. So let's see how that looks. By the way, I know we have less people in the chat and you are in the class, but this is a casual convo. So if any questions come up, just put a message in the chat or unmute and feel free to ask anything. Okay. So this is Unity Hub. And to install it, basically you go to install, you click on add, and then you can choose different versions from Unity. Now there are more versions which are not listed here. You can go to download archive, it will open the page. You can choose from there. Now personally, I would recommend 2021 because a lot of new stuff has come in it. but also there is no LTS version in 2021. What does LTS mean? LTS means long-term support from Unity. So Unity is it's evolving constantly. They are doing lots of upgrades, and LTS just means that whatever upgrades they do in the future, the LTS version, they'll try to put those updates in LTS version as well. So go for 2021. If not, then go for Unity 2020 at least LTS version. You go next, and here you need to choose what platforms you want to build for. If you are doing anything related to VR, AR, mobile, Androids, you check Android build, and remember to check in these two as well inside Android build. For iOS builds, Linux, if any Linux people here, Mac builds, WebGL if you want to do browser-based games, and Windows if you want to do Windows-based games, and then Magic Leap and stuff. So just take whatever is required and install it. Once you install it, you will have it available here. So this will be empty for you. I have a number of projects already. And what we'll do today is we will just open a new project and we'll start tinkering with it. So, okay. We'll do a new project and I want 2021. And this gives us this window. Now, Unity also gives you different templates to start from. There's a 2D template, there's a 3D template, and there's a HDRP, that's high definition render pipeline, and universal render pipeline, URP template. There are also VR, AR templates, which are not listed here, but so I think 2D and 3D are kind of self-explanatory, or we'll go into it once we open it. And then HDRP and URP templates, we'll go over it if we have time at the end of the workshop of what it is. But just remember that these templates are here. So if you click them from here, it will already open with all the settings in HDRP. If you don't click it from here, then you just have to link the settings inside Unity once it's open. So we'll go over that. Any questions? What is Unity? Why Unity? So well, we are just waiting for it to load. This is the first new project. It's creating a new project, so first loads are kind of time taking. And here we are. We are in Unity version 2021. And first we'll just go through the basic what windows we have here. So normal top bar windows, you can go through all the settings over here. One important thing I think which you can note is layouts. So you can have different layouts over here, and they have built some templates. So 2x3, 4 split if you want to view your game scene from different views. This is our default layout. You have tall, wide, and then you can create your own layouts and save them as well. So what we have here is we have a scene view and we have a game view. So we're just gonna put game view over here like this. In the scene view, Unity has created two objects for us already. One is directional light, And you can rotate, transform, and move things from these buttons. And shortcut for these is also W, E, and R. So let's see if we try to rotate. That's our directional light. And this one is procedural, which Unity has put in, so it reacts to light, night and day. And we have a camera, which shows the current game view. We don't have anything, so we'll create a cube over here very quickly. And then if we move the camera there, that's the game view. And we have our inspector. Inspector will show all the properties of whatever object you select in the hierarchy. And then we have a project folder. Here you will have all your assets. It's like if you have used After Effects or Premiere Pro, just having all the files over here. Whatever files you put there, they won't necessarily be in the project build, but if you put the files here and they have a reference in this area, which is hierarchy, scene, or inspector, then they will be included in the build. So keep it clean, but you can also have non-essential things over here just for future reference. And so how to start a project? Good practices. The first good practice would be to go to your build scene and choose your platform. So you will have a basic idea what your final output is. So Windows and Mac, Linux, all the PC platforms, you choose this. Uh, Self-explanatory: Android, iOS, PS4, PS3, Xbox, and etc. So you choose it now because accordingly there are some player settings which will change, and it's always good to have this. For example, if you choose WebGL and you do gamma settings with WebGL 2.0, uh, it's not supported. And if you figure it out later when you're in the project, then your colors will be messed up, which is not fun. Okay, so that is build settings. Okay, we will. So in Unity, there are kind of two aspects: visual and interactivity. This is a bit messed up, so I'm just trying to make it there. There it works, understandable. So we have two areas. We have shader, that's or a better word is maybe visuals, and then we have coding. That's interactivity. And to do this, there are two ways to do both of them. One is visual scripting way, and then one is writing code way. So visual scripting way in shader, so you see the green lines, and sorry for the bad, but I'm not a 2D painter, so it looks like this, but try to understand the logic behind the thing. So in visual scripting, the green arrows, we have two uh, tools by Unity called Bolt and Playmaker, and that's for coding and interactivity for the red arrows. And for the green arrows, we have VFX Graph and Shader Graph. And for writing code, we have IDE, Visual Studio, and Writer. Now, too many words, too many things. What do I mean? So let me try to show you here. So let's start with coding um, in the writing code way, or coding in the visual scripting Playmaker. So what is Playmaker? And what does visual scripting look like? it looks something like this. So this is your logic, and if you're anything related with like familiar with codes, it's basically if-else logic. So what they've done is they've created different boxes, and they have if, they have adds, they have number of functions. You can drag and drop, you can connect lines and stuff. So if you don't want to write it, what I mean by writing, so things like this, if you don't want to do this, then you can do visual scripting using Playmaker. This is Playmaker. What is Bolt? Bolt is similar. Now, Bolt is officially by Unity, and Playmaker came earlier than Bolt. So Playmaker kind of paved the way, and then Unity saw that there's potential, so they created Bolt, their inbuilt thing. So if you're going for it, I don't personally use any of them, but I would recommend Bolt just because it's by official Unity. And let's also see shader scripting. In shader scripting, the green arrows, we have VFX graph and shader graph. So let me show you, well, all of them kind of look same. They are just nodes, but they are different graph softwares with different tools with slightly different structure. And this is how shader graph looks. This is for creating materials, which we will jump into. And we also have something called VFX graph in Unity. This is for advanced, not materials, but particle effects. You can also do normal particle effects from the old version, which is called Unity Particles. But if you want to do something more techy, not techy, or more interactive, like putting your depth sensor to your uh, to your camera, detecting the depth, or attaching your depth sensor, things like that, then visual graph is better way to go. Okay, let's jump back to Unity. Cool. While we are here on the basic scene, I will also show you some cool things along the way. So for example, this skybox, we have the basic light and we have the skybox. So to change the skybox, we generally go to window, rendering, lighting, and that gives us this window. And in the environment, we can choose our skybox material. There are also other settings like fog, source intensity, stuff like that you want to play around with. So just play around, move things, see what happens. And so this is, you can choose different skyboxes. Now I don't have any skybox because this is a new project, and by default they only provide you default skybox. But if you want to get skybox, you want to go for something called HDRI. And what HDRIs are, they are kind of 360 images. So download one of them and put them in Unity in a material set, and then you'll be able to put it as a skybox. Skyboxes also affect how your objects will light. For example, you see the cube, it changes the color. So if you are doing an interior scene, if you're doing an outer scene, if you're doing a scene at the sea, museum, anything, just choose your skybox accordingly. And I think there's a very nice site, always recommended by Chris. This site, hdrihaven.com. It gives you free skyboxes, and I think Chris has his name over here somewhere. Uh, so you can browse through different skyboxes and search whatever environment you're your vision is you're trying to do in Unity. Okay, 20 minutes. Cool. We are going all right with the time. And one of the things when I started was I was throwing everything in the project folder, and it's good. It's good for hacking things together, doing prototypes, but it soon becomes very messy. So I will recommend a folder structure, which is also kind of industry standard, or just the basics which uh, people follow. So you want to have several folders over here, so you can put your things accordingly. And main folders are materials. To put all the materials, you can do models. So this will be 3D models. And you can have something called UI or 2D assets. You can put all your images and stuff over here. Unity already created us a folder called scenes. Good guys. And you should have a folder called scripts. You can put all your scripts over here. And that was it. What am I missing? I'm missing something. You can have settings, resources, and different folders as well. And then inside it, these you will find yourself finding your own practice eventually and creating subfolders within folders. Oh, this should be 3D models. Okay. So let's try to do something with our scene. First, we created a cube. So let's also go how to create things and how to do things. So I have done a right click, or you can also go to assets, create, and we have number of things over here. So 3D objects, it gives you primitive 3D objects. That's cube, sphere, capsule, cylinder, plane. Um, Pretty self or basic knowledge, you can of course import any of the 3D models inside Unity from outside. So whatever you want to import, let me see if I have anything which I can. Hmm. Maybe I can. Yeah, it should be fine. So just simple drag and drop and in our 3D models folder, and we have our model, and you can put your model over here. This is just like a factory model. You can position it again, W shortcut. You can also do this from here if you want to be precise and have like a tilted model. You can scale it, and all that jazz. Okay, one of the very handy shortcuts as well. In editor, say I am far away somewhere. I don't know. I did something and I reached very far, and I want to go to this cube. Now, one way is you just go and scroll. Where is my cube? Or you select the cube and press F, and it takes you to the thing. That looks like a small shortcut, but that's a very handy shortcut. Do take a note. Um, so we'll create a simple material over here, and we will name it cube. To attach a material, it already gives us a default material, but we cannot really edit anything because it doesn't have its own reference. It's a default which Unity just provides. And to have the material, we have something called mesh renderer. So mesh renderer, as the name suggests, it renders the mesh. Let's go to wireframe or shaded. Oh, never mind. And this is your material, which you'll put over here. You can drag it on the object, you can drag it here. It works both ways. Now it's linked, and we can change properties over here for the material. If you are getting into materials in environment lighting, you also want to look at something called PBR Unity workflow. So what PBR materials is, it's basically a process in which you assign proper textures and proper things in on the material. So if you're coming from a 3D background, you might already have a good understanding of this. There's albedo, which is like basic uh, UV of how it looks, the basic map, base map. You have metallic map, normal map, height map, occlusion map. And there are also different types of materials. So we won't go in depth in this because that's a huge topic, but those are the things, and you want to look at PBR materials if you're into it. So we will create how to give interactivity. So we will create a very basic script of trying to rotate this cube. So I'm gonna go into my scripts folder, do a create, and I will do a C# script. You can also go, as I said, from scripting way, script graph, or install Playmaker, or both. But I'm gonna just do a very basic script. We will call this rotate. And before we jump on opening this, okay, I'll open this. I'll also show you, if you are gonna go with scripting way, like writing the code way, according to this chart, then you wanna choose your IDE, which is your external script editor. Um, and examples of those are Visual Studio Code, and there's something called Rider. And Unity has now good connection or resources with Rider inside Unity. So I recommend using Rider over there. And you just install the Rider separately and link it here if you need to in external tools preferences. And this is Rider. You can hear my cries in the background of this loading. These are the perks working remotely, right? That you always have a fun, homely environment around you. Trust and open. Okay. So how do we rotate a cube? We are gonna go through the process. Say I'm just starting out with Unity. Example, I don't know anything. Uh, I know I have opened Unity. I have looked around. These are things. Now I want to rotate it, and I want to script it. What do I do? So one of the most, and I often show this. This will come in very handy. Uh, Main thing you want to learn is how to learn, and it looks like who you really are, programmer. No, you're just a pro Googler, because there are things that you don't even know what you don't know. And I recently came across this meme as well. Not meme. I don't know if it's a meme, but it is kind of fascinating. Googling is a very it it says Googling, but it's more like problem solving. So we will go through the process together, Unity. And I'm doing this to show you proper portals as well, the good links which should come up. We have something called Unity Docs. This will be your friend along the way. This will give you all the different kind of things in Unity you can do. You can search over here, or you can come from Google, and it gives you an example of the thing and definitions about it. We should also have Unity answers, or a coder's friend Stack Overflow. Like this one. So copy. We also want to understand the code, what we are doing, most of the times, at least. Um, so I've opened the writer. All I did was double click our script, which Unity created, and it gives us a very basic template. We have start. This is not a scripting demo, but just to get things started, we have a function called start. Start is called once whenever the object is enabled or it begins, and there's a function called update. Update is every frame, so each frame this thing will happen. What do we want to happen in update? This thing we copied from Google like a hacker. Transform.rotate. So this means that this is arbitrary. You can choose not to have it, but I'll just put it here for better understanding. So this game object, whatever the script is attached on, transform. So get the component transform, which is this, and rotate. That's an inbuilt function, and then you just define the angle. So rotate this by 0, rotate y by 0, rotate z by 50, and multiply it by time.delta time. So time.delta time is just your in-game clock, or per second. So every 1 second, 1 into 50, that'll be 50. On the second, 2 into 50, that'll be 100. So it will rotate by 100, and so on, so on, so on. So we'll just save our script. And on the cube, we want to rotate this cube, so we will attach, drag and drop this script. And how do we see it? We click play. And there we have it. We have a rotating cube. These are stats window. If you're into optimization, which you are gonna jump into later if you're doing lots of stuff with Unity, it's just a fancy window to have a look at stats. So I've just duplicated the cube, and we are gonna try another way to animate this. Okay, before I go there, one of the things which I missed in my list is 2D differentiation between 2D workflow and 3D workflow in Unity. We have this small button called 2D. Now, if you put 2D, it puts your thing like this, and then you can of course choose the camera angle if it's top, bottom, etc. But that's just a workflow thing. If you're making a 2D game, you will mostly be working in this workflow. If you are making a 3D game, you'll be working between these workflows. For example, You'll be doing your 3D environmental stuff here, and anything to do with UI, you'll be doing it here. So let's also put a UI over here. So right click UI, and we'll just put a button, and there's a button. Also, one of the good practices in your game window, instead of free aspect, you want to choose one of the resolutions. Mostly 16:9 works well. So choose something like that. So that gives you an idea of how your things will scale and look. If you are doing things with UI, just a quick tip, you can also go to canvas and do canvas like scale with screen size, so it'll scale accordingly. And we have a button, and same thing, you can rotate and do all the things over here. So that's the difference between 2D and 3D workflow or components. And I'm gonna just disable this for now. Okay, cool. I have removed the script from one of the cubes, and we will try to rotate this cube, but by animating it. And so inside Unity, there are lots of things you can focus on. There are 2D areas, there are 3D areas, there are animators, animations, there is lighting, there is loading, coding, and then there are creative techs doing AR, VR, and then there are generalists like me, which kind of are all over the place. So there is something called animator in Unity, in which you can do animation. So it's here called animator. But what I'm going to show you here is something called timeline. And timeline is like a advanced, or it's a collection of animators. So maybe we can have another folder over here called resources or animations. Yeah. And then inside animations, we'll create timeline over here, and we will name it my timeline. We will create an empty game object. This game object doesn't have anything visually on it, but this will, let's say this is our game manager. This will control other things and how the game runs. And we are going to attach our timeline to this. You just double click the timeline, and that will open a timeline window to see the timeline. And now we are in the territory of animators. So Toon Boom, Frames, Premiere Pro, you're familiar with this. This is a timeline. And we'll try to do a basic animation. So we select the object on which our playable director is. And we drag and drop the object over here. Now there are different things over here. We have an activation track, animation, audio, and signal track. Audio is you just put the audio there. Signal track, you won't go into that right now. Animation and activation track. So let's try the activation track. So here, what I want is after 30 frames, I want my cube to be activated. So as simple as that. And let's also play it and see what's happening. There, see, it activates, and in the end, what happens? It stops. So you have different modes. You have right now it's to none. You can choose loop. So when you do loop, it will start looping. You can also do hold. Hold means it will hold in the end. And if you want to do fancy functions like playing it backwards, then you can choose update method to manual, do some scripts over there, etc., etc. So to do an animation, now everything you see here in the inspector of the game object is they, all these values can be animated, they can be tinkered with, they can be accessed from scripts, timeline, animations, etc. And what we are going to do is we are going to take this cube and add an animation track to it as well. So after this activates, I will just hit record over here. So that means whatever changes I'm doing, it's going to record on this keyframe. So I want to rotate it by X. So I just did initial, so it records a keyframe. You see it created a keyframe over there. I want to go a little ahead and I want to change it to whatever, something like that. And we're going to pause the record. Let's play. And there it is. So we have seen two ways of doing rotating a cube. One is through scripting, one is through animation or more like timelines. But this is an animator. So what I mean is when you created the activation track, what it did was it automatically created an animator on your game object and linked it. And to see it, you can simply double click and it opens this window, which is animation window. And inside it, you can see the keyframes. Also, you can't move it by default. So what you want to do is go right click and convert to clip track. You see, now it's like a normal, your basic clip, like in Adobe stuff. And we will also add like a, maybe let's also try to change the color. There. And it rotated, it added a feature called mesh render color. And just change the color. Okay, I'm gonna be quick because I realized I'm taking too much time on this. And there. So you can do all your kind of fancy animations and put it over here in the timeline. One of the things I also want to give over here is something called asset store by Unity. Asset store is a collection of third-party or even assets by Unity, which can do different things. They can create environments, new FPS. This is like a example of a shooter controller, and there are different assets here. There are also free assets on sale and top free assets. And what I would recommend is if you're starting out and you wanna see how things are made, do what we have done till now and then download one of the games or packs which kinda envisions what you wanna go for. So if it's a 2D game, if it's a 3D game, and try to understand or break down what they have done and then go from there. So you can add it to my assets and it will open in Unity automatically. I'm gonna do that now. In Okay, we have like 15 more minutes, so I can quickly show you rendering pipelines. The thing which popped up in the starting, if you remember, when we were choosing the project, URP and universal rendering pipeline and high definition rendering pipeline. Now, in chat, if you can quickly decide what rendering pipeline do we want to look at. So HDRP stands for high definition rendering pipeline and URP stands for universal rendering pipeline. HDRP is more for graphics, like high-end graphics, but it's also heavy. So you want to choose it accordingly to what platform you're building for. URP is a bit more lightweight, but it's also able to achieve some very greater graphics. And to add these packages and assets, you go to Windows, Package Manager, and these are currently the packages in our Unity already. But we go to Unity registry and you can see all the different available packages by default. 2D animation, PSD importer, add packages. If you're doing AR VR stuff, augmented reality, you want these packages. Um, so RP, let's just look at RP packages. You wanna install RP, core RP library. RP stands for rendering pipeline. Now, what I'm showing right now is all the extras. Um, if you're followed till now, you kind of know how to do interactivity and basics of it. Now I'm showing just how to do some of the nice fancy visual stuff. So we will go with HDRP. Till then, any questions, any curiosity? Okay, while this is happening, because we are low on time, I will also give you an overview of AR. So if you are trying to do augmented reality stuff, in packages, you have something called um, AR Kit, which is by Apple, and this is package you need to build on all the iOS devices. And you have something called AR Core, which is by Google, and this is needed for if your target platform is Android. Now, what Unity has done is Unity has created something called AR Foundation built on top of these two packages. So they automatically detect your uh, what what your platform is running on, and they choose automatically from the available functions. So if you're doing anything to do with AR, you want in the packages, I'll show once this is done. You want AR Foundation, and then accordingly, according to your platform, if you want both of them, choose both of these. AR Foundation was previously called, I think, AR Interface, or if that's the new name. But AR Interface and AR Foundation, one is uh, taken over by the other. So if I'm mentioning this because if you're going to Google tutorials, you will come across different uh, structures. They are slightly different, so choose accordingly. Uh, go with the newer one, which is, I think, AR Foundation. Let me show over here. AR. Yeah. So you want this AR kit install. You can do AR kit face tracking if you're into it. AR core, and then AR Foundation. If you are doing VR stuff, and why also AR stuff, you also want to have something called XR. XR stands for mixed reality. So XR incorporates AR and VR. So install that. Yeah. And we have 8 minutes, so I'll quickly try to show what HDRP does. So we just imported HDRP package and it gave us this window, and it's telling us a number of issues we have. But not issues, just some settings which are more better for HDRP, high definition render pipeline. It's asking us, do you want to create a fresh HDRP assets? Like, yes. Okay, till that's happening, I will share some of my workflow of how I do, of how I've gone with this. In the coding part, I have chosen writing code manually through scripting, just because I feel like Bolt and Playmaker, visual coding, at some point in future, if you want to do advanced interactions, there can be limitations with Bolt and Playmaker. So I do it using write code. For shader, on the shader side of things, I don't do write code way, uh, because shaders can get complicated if you're writing the code. For shaders, I am using uh, shader graph, which is by Unity, and that is a very powerful software or tool, if you remember what it looks like. So shader is if we want to do advanced materials, these. Now you see our material have gone pink. It has fixed all the issues over here because it's an old material and it's not compatible with HDRP. So we're going to go to edit and rendering and do materials and convert selected materials to HDRP. And there it has just converted our thing to HDRP material. And our lighting is different. As you see now in HDRP, it has given us a lot more areas to play with. Um, these are more accurate lux settings for sunlights, and these are heavy, so that's why HDRP is only recommended for good platforms or things which can take it. And I'll very quickly show volume. So global volume is post-processing. Just gonna create a new volume over here. And you can add a number of things over here. So you can do fog. And just play around with these settings, see what happens. Um, and we have some of the more good stuff over here, color adjustments, shadows, how it looks, post processing, bloom. So just an insight on some of the graphics things. I, I didn't touch on a very important thing called console. This will show you all the errors you have in your um, whatever scripts you're writing or whatever weird stuff you have done in Unity. Now this is a shader error because we just upgraded the shader. So these can be ignored. You can click clear. But you will get to know about console as you do things and you find errors in your game. We are kind of at the end of the time. Um, so we also have an intro to 2D workshop, which is a more advanced workshop in how to do 2D games. It's by Official Unity. So I'll just link that over here. It's from 2 to 3. Let's see. And in future, in this series, I'll try to do the different components or go more in depth, like go in depth in AR or in depth in scripting or JAD. JAD is very good in Playmaker scripting. So we'll try to host some of those. And if you have any specific areas of Unity you want to look at, just give any of the studio assistants a message. And that's the link to a Zoom webinar in the meeting chat. And it's at 2 p.m. AEST. Intro to 2D by Unity. And that will be it for this one. Any questions?
So did you mean that this was going to be kind of like a regular thing?
So there's a regular workshop series curated by Win and Emmett. There are different workshop series, Unity, different softwares, Adobe and stuff. For Unity, if there is enough interest, I can try to do it not like weekly, but maybe once or twice in 2 weeks, in 2 or 3 weeks, because you also need time to tinker with this. You need to go in and do some things. And if I'm also always available for kind of chatting with you privately for what you are doing in the project, and if any specific areas you want to focus on inside Unity.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you have any suggestions or particular areas you want to do in Unity, then please ping me. Like, I had some requests for AR VR stuff, or any specific other things.
Cool. Thanks for walking us through it. It seems super complicated. But
yeah, well, it's so I started with basics, and I tried to give you like a kind of insight on what is available, because oftentimes you don't even know what's even there. So now you know, okay, these are the things, and then you can try to go and dive in deeper into these areas if you want. But a lot of it was extra as well. Just to start it off is you need your basic interactivity stuff, which I showed in the starting. But if you're doing, I would recommend try to get some example projects and play around a lot and see what happens.
yeah, would you recommend the micro games that comes up?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, okay. I think I'll try one of those out.
Yeah, like open it, try to see how they have linked things together. Try to mod it. If you want to put some things in your scene from it, you can reuse it. It's okay to reuse it in MAGI. Like, just put it in your documentation that you used it and it's part of your process, because it was part of my process that I was kind of breaking down what others have done. That helps a lot in getting the process, and then eventually you get into your own process and you start creating your own things. Yeah. Okay, well, I think there is another something at 2:30. There's a guest lecture at 2:30. So if you guys are free, we'll see you there. And that's it for this one. Thank you for joining and staying with me for 1 hour. See you soon.
Thank you.